Guys like Jeff are invaluable and one of the reasons I do what I do.
You're listening to 91 Reasons, a journey into the twisted landscape of pop culture. Keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times. And now, the voice, Jeff Tucker.
Neo walks into the bathroom, and the not Morpheus guy comes out of the bathroom stall, and he goes, "At last." And he goes, "Did I get that right? Did I do that right?" And that's the moment you realize they hate you. They hate me. They hate us. The people who make modern pop culture things, they hate us. They despise their own audience. Be warned. This episode is probably going to contain some foul language because some things like Tenet are only reviewable if you're going to use some strong language. Welcome back to the car, everybody. The weather is softened. It's not ice cold. It's not a million degrees, at least not yet. It's supposed to be 80 degrees here in California, here in sunny Orange County, but it's not quite yet. So we can sit in the car and we can have our episode of 91 Reasons. I mean, it's been a month, right? So we might as well have an episode. Boy, did I watch some crud. And I'm just going to squeeze them all together because they're pretty much the same. Matrix Resurrections and Don't Look Up. Now, I will admit that I watched Matrix Resurrections because I'm a big Matrix fan. I think those movies are great. The first one, I think, is a masterpiece. And it was the perfect way to close out the 90s and usher in the 2000s and the era of the internet and everybody learning to use computers in ways that they never had before. And not just at work, you know. Now it was at home and I can do things. The Matrix is a masterpiece. I've done The Matrix on this show. I didn't do the sequels because to do the sequels, you'd have to watch them. And I can't watch the sequels. They're effing terrible. They're terrible movies. But at least they're trying to tell the story of Neo and trying to save the humans from the evil machines. Because at the end of the first Matrix, Neo's a god. He doesn't have to do anything anymore in the physical realm of the Matrix, or the digital realm where he rules physically, if that makes sense. He doesn't have to fight the agents anymore. He just has to do this, and they don't exist. He can reshape the Matrix in any way that he wants. And so when the sequels arrived, you thought, well, these will be interesting because how do you have a movie where the good guy is God? Like Superman. But Superman, they built in kryptonite to level the playing field. The Matrix didn't have any of that. It wasn't like they built a super agent, a super bug, a super program to go roll in there and fight Neo and go, look, upgrades. I mean, they do say upgrades when he's fighting them, but it's all done off the cuff because Neo has to fight these guys or there's no movie. He can't just exist. You know, it can't be, the Matrix sequels couldn't be just, hey, we've got to move these people out of these pods and wake them all up. Hey, that might have been interesting, right? Now that you see it visually in your head. Like, that would have been interesting. But by the end of the third Matrix, Neo sacrifices himself. Trinity dies. Neo sacrifices himself. And the machines and the human decide they might have to work together for a new day. But nobody ever really unplugs. They can't because there's not enough natural resources left on the planet to sustain that many lives. Zion is not that big. Zion is, just a small city on the entire planet full of people. But I went into Resurrections really intrigued. What are they going to do with this story? Where can it go? And the answer is, it can't go anywhere. There's no fucking place for it to go because the story ended. Neo died. Trinity died. Morpheus was right. He was the one, and he sacrificed himself Jesus-like to save the people, the humans. So in this one, he's just back. He's just back. And he works at a video game place, and they keep referencing the Matrix as a video game. And I'll tell you, the Morpheus scene in the bathroom where they're recreating Neo running through the office with his phone is the big indicator that, oh, this movie's trash. But early on, the thing that clued me in was seeing McFarlane Matrix toys on Neo's desk. He's got McFarlane Matrix toys on his desk. Trinity falling down, shooting as she goes. And I thought, what the fuck is that? Why does he have action figures of himself and his girl on his desk? And then there's all these scenes of video game manufacturers, and they're trying to do an allegory for the studio system, and I get that. Like, this is what people want. They want bullet time, and they want all this stuff, and pow, 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 pew, pew. And you're like, you're calling me stupid. You're telling me that the things I like are dumb, and I'm stupid for liking them. The movie is trying to be meta, but all it succeeds in doing is putting a big middle finger to anybody trying to watch it. If you haven't seen the Matrix movies, there's no reason to watch this movie. If you've seen the Matrix movies and you watch this movie, you're told you're an idiot for watching and liking those movies. Like, we all loved the Matrix. The Matrix was the reason I bought a DVD player, because I had seen DVD players at Suncoast since like 96 or 97. And I kept saying, well, why would I buy that? I have a VCR. I have hundreds of videotapes. Why would I start over? I tried that with laser discs, and then they stopped making laser discs to some degree. They were harder and harder to get, so I gave up. But why would I switch to DVD? And then The Matrix came out. And The Matrix had all these extras on there that were only available on the DVD. And there was something immersive about taking the disc and putting it in the player, pushing the button, little drawer goes in, and you're like, oh, we're entering the Matrix. So I loved all that. And now the movie says, you only like the special effects, you're an idiot, these movies are trash. You're like, what a cynical message for a big studio picture at a time when, boy, we could really use a movie that's uplifting and fun and good. When we came out of the Vietnam War in the 70s, movies were pretty dark. And then a little movie called Star Wars came out where the good guys win. And everybody rallied around this movie because it felt good to win one. Now, I was pretty young at the time, so I didn't get the social ramifications of the Star Wars release of 1977, but I get it now in hindsight. And we're at another point in time where the right movie's going to come along, and maybe it's Spider-Man No Way Home, because it's certainly doing very well at the box office at a time when they keep telling people, don't go to the movies, you're going to die if you go to the movies. Like that scene in Outbreak, where Patrick Dempsey goes to the movies with the monkey virus, and they show people breathing in the virus. Watch that scene. That'll turn you off from going to the movies for a long time. We could really use something positive in the film. And again, Spider-Man might be it. I don't know. It has some weird flaws in it. It's not a perfect movie. It is not the gee whiz, good guy wins spectacle of Star Wars. But The Matrix is pure cynicism. Pure cynicism. Neo's just alive, and they're running through the motions of the first film, but they're watching it from afar. And there's this horrible storytelling device of a guy wearing one of those, remember those Nintendo things you're supposed to wear on your head and point at the screen and go, fire, fire, fire. He looks like he's wearing one of those. It's got the little red thing like the guy in Last Starfighter. But he's like the operator, Joey Pants, Joe Pantoliano for the first movie, he's the one at the computer going, we're watching, and they're only seeing the Matrix code. But in this one, because the operator's watching the Matrix code, he's actually, like, visually, they put him in the Matrix, like, standing off to the side, like, go here, go there, and they're like, oh, that's dumb. That looks like something from the early 90s, like, VR warriors in the digital realm of the computer. That's what it looked like to me. It looked like an episode of the Power Rangers, having that guy in all the scenes. You don't have to do that. He can just be a voice. He can just be a voice. The other issue is when The Matrix came out in 1999, the majority of people still had home phones. You pick up the phone, hello. Remember we used to call places and ask for people, hi, is Jeff there? Hey, it's me. And now we call people, hey, Jeff, where are you? And ask where they're at. But everybody in 1999, we had a home phone. Everybody had a home phone. In 1999, I had a home phone that I used to use for my my web TV dial-up. Rachel hated it because I'd dial in web TV. It would take 10 minutes to load in. And then, after you've done that, you want to stay on for an hour. So the phone was off limits for at least an hour or two. But in modern day, people don't have home phones. And there are no pay phones. So they just sort of breeze in and out of the Matrix whenever they want. There's no real plot device to it. They jump through mirrors. They jump through glass. They jump through windows. It's all lazy fucking storytelling. That's all I can really say, is that it's really fucking lazy. This was written on a cocktail napkin and decided, you know what, let's just start. Build some sets. We'll make it work. Or don't build any sets. Just give us a warehouse with a green screen, because that's all these movies are now. They're just made in a warehouse on a green screen, and, fuck the audience. If it looks fake, that's your problem. If your TV's so crisp and clear and your signal so strong that the movie looks fake and unrealistic, well, that's your problem. We did our best. Well, your best isn't good enough, or it could be good enough if you told a good story. Take whatever limitations you have and make that part of the story. It would have been okay if in The Matrix with Neo, it was still 1999. But they got to have flat screens. They got to have smartphones, because otherwise the audience won't accept it, I guess. The Matrix can't be a period piece. Like I said, they have so much disdain for the audience that they think you're an asshole. And I'm sitting there going, I just want to enjoy your movie. So why do you keep calling me an asshole? Like, they look they look right in the camera and they're like, yeah, the people just want bullet time. They just want this. They just want that. And you're like, no, what we really want is a good story. When I left The Matrix in the theater in 1999, April 1999, in a row, remember it was The Mummy, Matrix, and then Phantom Menace in 1999. When I left the theater, I was blown away, not because of bullet time special effects. No, I left because at the 30-minute mark, when when Neo wakes up from the Matrix in that pod, I was blown away at the storytelling. It's all about the storytelling. How good a story are you telling? And The Matrix tells an amazing origin story for Neo. And this one tells you you're an idiot for liking it. I don't know what's going on with the Wachowskis. And this one was Lana Wachowski who directed it. I don't know what's going on. But there's not going to be any more movies. Thank goodness. I wouldn't give it any more. Look, I'm done. You fooled me on Rise of Skywalker because I felt like I needed to finish this out. But if there was another Matrix movie, I'm just not interested. I can only take a middle finger to my face so many times. And this was a big one. They just keep editing scenes from the other movie on top of this one. You know how in 7, when John Doe is talking about going to meet Gwyneth Paltrow, and they do a quick flash of her face, and in your mind you're like, her head's in the box. They never show the head in any way, but the quick flash of her face gives your brain all the information you need. Well, this one just beats you over the head, because every time they show somebody, they flash someone from the other movie that this person is supposed to be. That's Agent Smith. That's Morpheus. Really? It is? Just by putting clips on top? It felt like, other than having Keanu Reeves in it, it felt like a really expensive fan movie. Like one of those Star Trek movies they make in a garage that are arguably better than the studio stuff. This one, not so much. Neo works in a video game place, and his boss is Agent Smith in a new body, I guess. And his cat is named Deja Vu. How fucking stupid is that? Like, give me a break. His cat is named Deja Vu, because when you see a cat do something in the Matrix, it's a deja vu. Like, oh, God. He sees Trinity at the local coffee shop and tries to go talk to her, and she's got a husband. And I don't know if they're up on current internet culture. I don't think they are. I don't think they keep up on current stuff. But the actor's real name is Chad, so they make the character's name Chad. Now, if you're on the internet for more than 10 minutes, you know that Chad is a derogatory term for a guy who likes to punch drywall and drink Monster energy drinks. So I don't know, did they give the guy his name? Like, he's the director in the movie, the actor, he's the director of those John Wick movies. So they're all sort of entwined together. But making his name Chad is like instantly supposed to tell, I guess, the hip people in the audience that we're not supposed to like this cat. Well, what's not to like? We don't even know him. And Trinity has children. Do you remember any children in the first Matrix except for the kid with the spoon? They sort of kept kids out of it. Well, Trinity has children. And once again, we're reminded that big Hollywood director types do not understand family. You know, the Fast and Furious can scream family all they want, but these people don't understand what it's like to have a family. You know, George Lucas doesn't, because when Padme dies giving childbirth because Anakin broke her heart, that doesn't happen, because a woman who's having twins has more to live for than just about any of us, and will murder someone who gets in the way of those twins. So for Trinity to have children, there has to be something very cataclysmic happen for her to want to leave that husband and children for Neo, this guy she only knows in a coffee shop. These are just truths about humanity, of which the people making these movies have no idea. People get to do things in movies that they would never do in real life because it just fits whatever narrative storyline they're trying to make. The husband is never shown to be an asshole. The kids are innocent to begin with, unless you're going to show them killing a puppy, like in a serial killer movie. There's no scenario where she leaves the husband and kids where we feel good about it, is what I'm saying. That just doesn't happen. I was just watching Repo Man with Emilio Estevez. What a great time capsule of the 1980s, the early 80s. But at the end of the movie, he gets a chance to climb aboard a car with aliens in the trunk and go into space. And this girl that he's known for a while, just a really short time, says, "What about us? What about our relationship?" And he goes, "Fuck that." And he gets in the car and drives into space. And we, the audience, are like, well, yeah, she's a terrible person. She was just torturing him with the FBI a few minutes ago. I mean, I don't think he knew that. But when he leaves her, we get it. She's not worth staying for. But a woman with children? Do any of these Hollywood people, do they have any shred of humanity left in them? Do they not understand the bond between a parent and a child, even a digital facsimile of a child? Remember in the second or third one, there's that small child at the subway station, presented as a sympathetic character. Again, you can't introduce a child and make the child some sort of villain unless the child's a villain, like The Good Son with Macaulay Culkin or The Bad Seed, right? I don't get it. There's a fight scene involving the Marvongian French guy, and they have to flash on him because I'm like, why do I care about this guy? And even when they flash on him, I thought, why do I care about this guy? I don't. That guy was a blip in the other movie. A blip. It's not like Neo's fighting the architect and Hugo Weaving couldn't show up. He's too busy. He probably read the script and was like, yeah, I'm going to pass. Lawrence Fishburne was probably like, yeah, I'm going to pass. They're like, well, we're going to use your clips in the movie. Because that's the other thing. They do the whole red pill, blue pill scene, and they're playing scenes from the first movie on tattered, like a music video from the mid-'80s, like a Whitesnake video. There's this tattered stuff flowing, and they're projecting the movie scene on it. And they keep referring to it as a video game. Hey guys, this is not a fucking video game. It's a movie scene. Video games don't look like that. They may never look like that, because where would be the flow of the game? Maybe a cutscene, but they made no attempt to make it look like a video game. No attempt to digitize it or put some pixelation on it. It's simply showing the scene for the movie in crystal clear digital clarity and referencing it as a video game. It's inexplicable. Again, it's looking at the audience and saying, we really hate you, and you're stupid, and you're gonna like this. It's the Homer Simpson gun. It's the makeup gun. Homer, I don't think women would like to be shot in the face. Women will like what I tell them to like. Moviegoers will like what I tell them to like. Yeah, that's not how it works. It has to come from a place of passion and wanting. And I know that this film was a direct result of Lana Wachowski's parents dying almost together and thinking, what if I could bring them back? And the way you bring your parents back in art is you bring two characters back from the dead. But how these characters are brought back is bizarre. Neil Patrick Harris shows up as a therapist, but he's also the bookkeeper or somebody of the Matrix, and he keeps slowing time down, like slower than bullet time. He can slow things really down. And why does he slow things down, kids? For exposition dumps, so that he can literally stare at the camera and tell you what's going on in the movie, because they can't do it organically. They have no idea how to do it organically, and that's a big problem. If your characters can't get the information across organically, you have a character go, I'm going with you, brother. Boom. We know they're brother and sister. Not, this is a brother, this is a sister, and I'm Neil Patrick Harris. It was very strange. But he tells some stupid story of he decided to file some paperwork to get Neo and Trinity's bodies delivered to him, and then a lot of really scary spider robots, nurse them back to health and put them in pods, and they want to be together. So the longing to want to be together is what powers the Matrix. What? Do you guys even believe this shit that you're shoveling? Nothing clever, nothing groundbreaking, just a complete, we're just going to redo it. Yes, you almost died. Except, I think we see Trinity's heart stop at one point. Like, she's dead. Neo's dead. Neo is blind. Neo is dead. And instead, the robots sort of, I don't know, they've got spiders in their mouths. Like, it's really horrific. And they're put right back in their tubes, right next to each other. Now, these are the most important batteries in the entire Matrix, and they have zero protection around them. The rebels are allowed to, at will, just glide right up to them and take people out if they can. It's just stupid. This is a movie that I've only seen it once. I could never watch it again. But I'm sure if I watched it again, it would just completely, like, even more so than the first time, just collapse under its own bullshit weight. What a wasted opportunity. And again, I've heard reviews where they're trying to say it's completely meta. They're telling you about the studio system and sequels and this and that, but that's not good enough. This is one of those, they should have called it another Matrix movie. Remember those other movies? Date movie, epic movie, not another teen movie, another Matrix movie. That's what they should have called it, because that's what it is. It's just a bunch of touchstone references of better movies and bullshit explanation as to what you're seeing is actually happening. It all culminates in, well, before we get to that, this movie does the dumbest plot contrivance, and that's what I like to call the Harry Potter syndrome. If you've read the Harry Potter books or seen the Harry Potter movies, most of Harry's problems would be solved if anybody just sat Harry down and said, look, Harry, sit down for 5 minutes. Here's what's going on. You're in a tournament, and you're about to do this, and the goal is this, and everybody knows it but you. But they don't do that. Harry passes out. Harry blacks out. Somebody will just run up and go, you've got to come with me, Harry. Let's go. No time to explain. Like, wait a minute. There's always time to explain. What the fuck is going on? I'm going to tell you. But that spoils the movie aspect of it. When they revive Neo, who is the living embodiment of Christ in these movies, he's taken to the new city, which they fly through the barrier. It's the same gag from Black Panther. Like, nobody pulled Lana aside and said, look, we've already done this. Because Neo's like, oh! And they go right through the force field. Like, that's Black Panther. They already did that. The same exact scene. You can put them together. It's the same scene. And a lot of people saw Black Panther. It wasn't a small movie. But then they just spend the next 20 minutes saying, we'll explain later. There's no time to explain, Neo. You probably have a lot of questions, but we're not going to answer any of them. Really? Like, the guy's Jesus. If Jesus showed up and wanted to know what was going on with humanity, you would probably take 10 minutes and let him know. You wouldn't just lock him up in an apartment and give him the Wi-Fi password. Like, you wouldn't. And yet, that's what they do in this movie. There's a little bit of explanation as to how the machines are working with them. And there's a couple of floating machines. Now watch those scenes. The floating machines are so fucking big that they keep changing size to fit in whatever set they've got. They're so massively big. And they're floating around like, no, that's a thing the size of a Volkswagen. If it moved around in the area you were in, it would knock everything over. But again, these movies are made on a green screen. They might have a couple of tables and a couple of set pieces, but everything else is digital. So the movie has no weight, and the actors certainly don't know what's going on. They don't know how big the robot is that they're interacting with. The guy just says, hey, that tennis ball on a stick is a big robot. There's no weight, no care, no passion. The movie's passionless. So, like I was saying, it builds to some stupid showdown in a cafe where if Neo can convince Trinity to leave the Matrix with him, then he'll win whatever winning is, whatever the meter for winning is. And when Trinity shows up with, she's got a family, I thought, well, maybe the movie will redeem itself. Maybe there'll be something so clever here, because a woman doesn't leave her kids. She'd rather die. She would jump in front of a bullet or a car or a bear to save her children. There are many reports of kids being trapped in a burning building and the parent safe going back in to get them, because that's what we do. It's in our DNA. We protect our offspring at our own peril. And instead, Trinity just goes, yeah, I'll go with you. Oh, sure. And she makes some horrible F you moment to her husband, who's not done anything. He's not done anything. The kids haven't done anything. She just is like, yeah, I'm going with this guy I met in the coffee shop once. It reminded me of, in a small way, The scene at the end of Bridges of Madison County, where Meryl Streep is in a car and she sees Clint Eastwood across the way. Now, her husband has no idea who that guy is, and they just cut to Meryl Streep's hand on the car handle, like she's gonna leave and go with this guy. And the poor husband's gonna go, who the fuck is this? She doesn't go. But in the Matrix, Trinity just like, yeah, fuck that guy. Fuck my husband and the kids. And the kids. What? Who writes this shit? If I wrote this stuff, my wife would tell me to try again. She'd go, Jeff, this is terrible. You have to try again. And I would. I've thrown away whole chapters of my book. Like, it's not working. Start over. This is stupid. The characters aren't behaving the way normal people or my characters would behave. This one, they take the characters and they bend them. Like they're made of clay. They just bend them and snap them to make them do what they want. Even if what they want to do is illogical. We have our obligatory Matrix chase. Trinity's driving a motorcycle. And Neo's on the back. And the machines have turned everyone in the city against them. This is going to be a good set piece, right? How are they going to escape the hordes of mindless drones headed their way? Well, nothing clever, I can tell you that. Nothing stopping the Matrix and bending reality. Instead, Neo has a force push. You know when, like, Obi-Wan pushes the battle droids? Neo does that against the people. Then he does it again and again and again and again and again and again until you're completely bored. All this technology, all this storytelling, and the guy is just waving his hand like a Jedi and pushing people back. Nothing clever, nothing visually striking. It's striking maybe the first 3 times, and then it's just noise on the screen. The machines decide to turn citizens into bombs by grabbing them and making them jump out of a window. So like they're racing through the city on their motorcycle and people are dropping and then exploding or into like pixels or something. Which I guess in the context of it, every time they do that, the Matrix loses a battery because you die. You die if you die in the Matrix, you die in the real world. That's the plot. I've seen the movie a couple times. So they're willing to kill and destroy thousands of good batteries in exchange for, I don't really know, killing Trinity and Neo? Like, what are they trying to grab them and make them stop? I don't understand. Because all you really needed to do to take care of these characters would be to have the machines go to the pods in the real world and threaten their their real life bodies. If Neil Patrick Harris revealed himself in the real world as some sort of sentinel monster machine and went to Trinity's pod, because he must know that the whole goal is to get her out of the Matrix, to grab her body and take it back to the human city. That's the whole goal. I mean, everybody knows that. Neil Patrick Harris must know that, his character. So they would put up a ring of millions of robots around her pod. And they would say to Neo in the Matrix, take another step and we'll kill her body. If we're going to lose her anyways, we'll lose her on our terms. But they don't do that. There's a stupid heist. And can we put an end to this movie trope? Can we just today say, no more movie tropes where people get together and the camera moves around them and is constantly moving as they describe what the heist plan is, and while they're describing it, they're doing the heist plan? Remember, it used to be they would roll out paper and they'd go, okay, we're going to put a guy here, we're going to come in through the roof here, and then one guy goes, what about the part? And the guy goes, we're going to have a plan for that. Then they show you the plan. Well, that all changed in like Ocean's 11 and the Matrix, where they're racing to the power plant. Is that the first or second one? I don't remember. But once again, like, they're talking about the plan, they're doing the plan. It's so pedestrian. And the plan is to get Trinity's body, which we knew that. They have to get Trinity's body out. But there's no protection. There's no defense against this attack. And all that talk that Neil Patrick Harris does about filing paperwork and proper authorization and the Matrix productivity is up a certain percentage, like, oh God, why are you turning this into some sort of weird spreadsheet movie of facts and figures? Like, it's supposed to be about humanity struggling against oppression, you know, and instead it's like, well, if you leave the Matrix, we'll be down 14%. Well, who the fuck cares? Why should we care about all this? It's kind of like in the second Matrix movie, the Reloaded, when Morpheus takes Neo back to Zion, and the Nebuchadnezzar ship, suddenly there's like 10 of them, and everybody flies the same ship. And you're like, oh, I thought the Nebuchadnezzar was like your Millennium Falcon, and instead it's more like your, you know, Pan Am Flight 102, because everybody's got the same vehicle. They should all be different. Each of the captains should have their own specific vehicle that they've modified a certain way. It shouldn't be like, look, the Nebuchadnezzar, we need 10 of those. It's not fun. There's no fun. And in Matrix Resurrections, there's very little fun to be had. And maybe that's the biggest letdown of this fucking movie, is that it's just not fun. And we need a movie that's fun right now. We're not getting it. You know, Spider-Man No Way Home was fun. I'll give you that. I enjoy it. I mean, these movies are all too long. When movies get so damn long, it's like, oh my God, it's never going to end. You know, and I guess if you're having a good time, it's like, woo, it's never going to end. But a lot of these, you're like, oh, just get to it. Matrix Resurrections just went on for days and days. And I was like, I just don't care anymore. Every time they started doing their fights, I'm like, who cares? Because there's no gravity behind it. There's no weight. It's just characters colliding into each other to get to the next whatever. And the next whatever is as bland as the one we just left. But again, it's because the studio hates us. They hate you and they hate me. I watched Don't Look Up. I didn't want to. I wasn't going to. But I felt like, oh, I should probably endure it, you know, just because. These people hate you. They hate me. They hate everybody. Don't Look Up is one of the most cynical, depraved, piece of shit cinema abominations I have ever seen. It's the same plot as Armageddon. It's the same plot as Deep Impact. It's yet another movie where the scientists discover something's going to kill the Earth and they go to get help and nobody believes them until they do, and then they try to get help. But instead, it's nothing like that. This movie is Idiocracy, except there's no there's no Luke Wilson character. There's nobody commenting like, what the hell's happening in this society? It's just a complete breakdown of society. Everybody in the movie is reprehensible. Except maybe the one scientist guy, Oglethorpe, I think his name is. He's the only sensible one in the whole movie. Everybody else is parody, caricature, trash. This was written and directed by Adam McKay, who fancies himself some auteur. And if you criticize his movie on any internet platform, he'll jump in and like, no, you're wrong. Hey, Adam McKay, this movie's shit. And you're an asshole for making such a horrible piece of shit movie. Imagine what that money could have done. If you guys hadn't blown $200 million on this stupid comet hurtling towards Earth movie, imagine the good that you could have done. You could have built schools, libraries, clean drinking water, brand new highways of the future, learning centers, and instead, y'all sat around at whatever stupid ass warehouse where you made this movie, because it's all green screen too, with a few sets. You sat around and you all just laughed and laughed at all the rubes that are going to watch your movie and not get that it's really about global warming. We get it. It's Leonardo DiCaprio. So of course it has to be about global warming, because nobody is a better ambassador of global warming than some fucked up actor guy who flies around on a private jet and soaks up the rays on his private yacht and uses enough fossil fuels he uses enough fossil fuels in a week that it will take me my entire lifetime to use. But please keep preaching, Leonardo. Keep telling me how I need to walk to work and I need to compost, and I'm not going to understand the signs because they're right in front of me. This movie's as subtle as a sledgehammer. It's Armageddon meets Doctor Strangelove, but it doesn't rise to the level of either one. Certainly not Doctor Strangelove, and not even Armageddon. I think Armageddon is a more competently made movie. At least it's fun. This is a cynical piece of shit movie about two scientists who discover a comet heading towards Earth, and when they go to tell the president's in some sort of weird sex scandal. Meryl Streep is the president. Her chief of staff is Jonah Hill, and they just don't. There's not enough poll numbers to care about the comet. And the movie's trying to be this satire of celebrity and internet memes and cancel culture, and it just comes across as icky. That's the word. It's icky. Every scene is icky. They're saying these lines of dialogue, and you can tell that they think they're just the funniest fucking things they've ever said. Meryl Streep is just convinced this is the part she'll be remembered for, because she's playing a female Trump, I guess. I don't know. Who the fuck knows? I don't think even they know. They just wanted to make every character worse than the next. Cate Blanchett, Tyler Perry, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Ariana Grande, who's playing a self-absorbed pop star who's going through a breakup that everyone seems to care more about than the comet hurtling towards Earth. And there's a message in there, I guess. The problem is, it's hard to do a message movie about overconsumption and the dangers of celebrity and false idol worship when everybody in your movie is guilty of fucking that. Everybody in this movie has 10 gazillion followers on social media, and they try to spend all day saving the fucking planet. And oh my God, no one will listen to Leonardo DiCaprio because he's talking about global warming. We're not listening to you, asshole, because you're a hypocrite. I'm no Greta Thunberg fan, but at least she puts her fossil fuels where her mouth is by going on a boat, a sailboat. DiCaprio flies a private jet to pick up awards for all his good work. And this movie's trash. There's some sequence involving a general who at the White House makes them pay for snacks, and that's like the big running gag of the movie, and you're like, are you guys bringing this up again? It wasn't that funny to begin with. I don't know what you're talking about. Everybody's addicted to their phones, and the movie has all this scrolling stuff on the screen like you're immersed in social media and social commentary. Cate Blanchett's character decides to have an affair with the married DiCaprio character, and they're lying in bed, and she's like, we should get to know each other. You should know that my family invented flash frozen food, so I'm hideously wealthy, and I own, 4 Monets. And then DiCaprio goes, well, my dad was a school teacher. My dog died, and I took that pretty bad. And I just got my Star Wars poster signed by Mark Hamill. Then they cut for a reaction shot like, oh, I'm sorry, you like pop culture, you like Star Wars, so you're a fucking idiot. Once again, these people who make these movies, they hate us all. They hate us for consuming, and they hate us for consuming the very products that they provide. You know that a movie download takes the same amount of energy to create as a physical copy? So those of us who collect physical media can't be demonized because it's the same carbon footprint. So don't spare me your preaching and your sermons. There's a character in it that's supposed to be Steve Jobs. Mark Rylance is playing him, and I'm telling you, there have been some annoying characters on screen throughout my movie-going life. He is in the top 2 at least. I don't know if I could think of maybe Steve Martin in Looney Tunes Back in Action, but holy fuck, Mark Rylance's fake Steve Jobs character, if I met him in real life, I might want to physically assault him for that part. He's so annoying. It's played so weird and bad, and he's like the main guy that they go to because he provides us all with the fake iPhones in the movie and the new iPhones coming out. Did you get the new iPhone? We can predict your death. I have all the information on all of you. Since you scour social media, so we know all about you. You can't make a movie about the evils of social media if the director is aggressively on social media all day yelling at anybody who dares mock his stupid fucking movie. Hey, Adam McKay, you're part of the problem. This movie and you and all your stupid actors who showed up to make this trash thing, you're part of the problem. It took you 2.5 hours to tell this story? 2.5 hours to tell this story. I felt like I was being held hostage. I felt like Patty Hearst. Don't Look Up is the Patty Hearst of movies. I can't get away. Oh my God, now I'm one of them. I've been brainwashed. Don't Look Up refers to the movement in the movie of the Republicans, wink, wink, to deny that it's happening. If you don't look up, the comet's not going to come get you. So they have rallies where they scream, "Don't look up." And then the good guys, the Democrats, scream, "Look up and see that doom is coming and we can do something about it." So then it decides, all these are running concurrently. They decide to trash capitalism because the fake Steve Jobs character wants to mine the comet because there's enough rare metals on it to power phones and jobs and batteries for cars and all that shit. So instead of just redirecting the comet away from Earth, which they were going to, Ron Perlman's racist astronaut character piloting a space shuttle is turned around mid-mission so that they can blow the comet up Armageddon style and mine the pieces that fall harmlessly into the ocean because, capitalism's evil. Hey, again, Adam McKay, your movie's capitalism. We all had to pay for it. It wasn't provided free of charge on the street corner so that we could all learn about the evils of global warming. You made the movie. You marketed the movie. Everybody got paid. And you made it during a pandemic. You made this movie at a time when a lot of us weren't allowed to fucking work. But you guys all got an exemption to go to work and make your shitbox movie. How about them apples? How about a lot of us were told to stay the fuck home and don't go to work. And the cast and crew of Don't Look Up all got an exemption and wore their masks and made their little fucking movie. And they must have, in between takes, they must have laughed so hard at all this humor, this quote unquote humor they were gonna dollop to us, spoon feed us. You can tell that they just think this is the funniest shit ever. You can just tell while you're watching it, like, oh, they really thought these jokes were going to just land. Like, these were zingers. And I felt like I needed a shower most of this movie because everybody in it's reprehensible. You know who's not reprehensible in the movie? Is Timothy Chalamet's character who shows up near the end, who is a young guy who shoplifts and this and that, but he's religious. And they actually take a moment at the end. It might be the only good moment of the movie to actually have a prayer. They decide to have dinner. The plan to break the comet apart doesn't work, but why should it? Because the mankind that is displayed in this movie doesn't deserve to be saved. It just doesn't deserve. They all deserve to die. So we have the elites are getting on a spaceship to go find another planet, and the rest of us are screaming in the streets or having sex or petting their dog, and the characters that we're supposed to identify with are having dinner. And they're going to eat dinner while the planet breaks apart and they all die. And Chalamet's character does a prayer, and you're like, oh, that's pretty good. We finally got a moment. And then DiCaprio ruins it by going, well, we had a good run and we had everything and we blew it, right? Well, and then everything blows up. This is as subtle as a sledgehammer to your face, man. The people who make this movie hate everything. They hate iPhones. They hate politicians. They hate pop stars. They really hate the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company for some reason. Maybe because it represents like capitalism to its nth degree, like a throwaway part of a movie has been turned into a successful food franchise that employs thousands of people. But you know what? Fuck those people. Because they're not in the cultural elite that we're in. They don't deserve to live. Let's blow them up. And not just like blow them up, but like show the sign floating in space. Let's show the Wall Street Bull floating in space. I don't know. Was I supposed to laugh at these scenes, Adam? Mr. McKay? Were they supposed to be funny? I just shrugged. I just fucking shrugged. Because by the time the Earth blows up, I was like, oh, thank God. If you guys were Alderaan, I would have applauded when the Death Star took you out. Maybe this will be the last one we see of this. This is a terrible movie. This is a waste of everybody's time, everybody involved. Again, think of all the good they could have done if they really cared. If they really cared about the planet, they would not spend 9 months making this cinematic trash. Instead, they would have cleaned up some beaches. They would have built some libraries, but they didn't do that. They never do that. They yuck it up and they go get some shrimp in between takes and they laugh about how they're going to really stick it to the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. If you want to see a better version of this movie that not only is clever but doesn't waste your time, look up an animated film called Logorama. It's available on YouTube. You can watch it. Logorama is about an evil Ronald McDonald who blasts his way through the most amazing, clever take against capitalism and franchises and brands, and ends up destroying the universe in a way that, even if you don't agree with the message of it, you can applaud how well it's done. And Logorama is amazing for what it does. It was nominated for an Academy Award. It's that good. But Don't Look Up, trash. The end is so fucking insulting. The end is 22,000 years later. The spaceship lands on another planet, and all the rich snobs who've paid their way to Eden get to go out onto a fresh planet. Now, naturally, because this movie was written by an idiot, they all go out to the planet nude. Isn't that great? Like it's the Garden of Eden. Like we just had a moment where everybody prayed to God for salvation and for forgiveness for what they have done. And then it cuts to a parody of the Garden of Eden where the Steve Jobs character and then a few other characters, I think it's supposed to be Kid Rock and lobbyists. Like it says what they are on the thing. Like it would matter at this point what your occupation is. You know, when the Battlestar Galactica finally found the planet to land on, all titles and rank were moot, and everybody just said, I'm going to build my cabin and live there. Where are you going to build your cabin? I'm going to build it over here, and we're going to rebuild society. It's a sweet little moment between Adama and the president in Battlestar Galactica. It reminded me of this movie in no way whatsoever, because they all walk out nude. I don't know what I was looking at. I mean, I guess in a movie that's had this much bullshit, I guess a few wangs waggling at the end is to be expected. I guess. I don't know. But why wouldn't they put on spacesuits? Why wouldn't, like, if you have to be in the pod to survive 22,000 years in cryostasis, before you step out onto the planet, you'd probably put on a pair of shorts. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say you'd probably put on a pair of shorts. But they don't. They walk out nude, so we can get that wink, wink, Eden analogy. And then, of course, the president, Meryl Streep, is eaten by a large ostrich. I guess it's supposed to be clever. I don't know. I don't know how I felt about it. The Simpsons did it better when Homer gets on that spaceship, him and Bart, and they realize they're not going to another planet. They're going into the sun. Because Jim Belushi and a bunch of other Z-level celebrities are on it too. Simpsons did it better, guys. A lot better. Everybody dies in this movie. A few people are left on another planet. And then the last scene of the movie, in case you didn't get the message, the last scene of the movie is Jonah Hill emerging from the rubble, carrying his mommy's purse. I read online, like, that's supposed to be the nuclear football. I didn't get it. I just thought he was holding his mom's purse. It never even occurred to me. Does the chief of staff generally hold the nuclear codes? I didn't know that was a thing, and I don't remember it being mentioned in the movie, but I may have not been paying attention because I was dazzled by the jokes and the irony of this movie. But in case you didn't get it, he decides to vlog emerging from the rubble as the last man on Earth, and then he goes, don't forget to like and subscribe. Wah, wah. Now, is that supposed to be a slam against us regular guys who make a video that costs nothing? This, I've already paid for the car, I've already paid for the phone. Uploading into YouTube cost $0. So I get to do all this because I am passionate about it. So is that a final dig at like YouTube people, YouTubers? I don't know. God help me, I couldn't figure out a lot of the irony of this film because everybody in it's terrible. There's nobody who floats through it as the voice of reason, except, again, maybe, I think his name was Oglethorpe. He's the only one. He brings a bottle of wine at the end and goes, I'm sorry I'm late, let's toast the end of the world. But DiCaprio cheats on his wife. Jennifer Lawrence is just, other than discovering the comet, doesn't seem to have much of a character arc other than no one will believe her and she's a meme. And then everybody else is just another level of depravity until you get numb to all of it. Don't look up. I would call it don't watch this. Oh, I'm so clever. I know. Oh my God. I'm as clever as the movie. I'd heard the term hate watch before, but I'd never experienced it for real until I watched this piece of trash. 2.5 excruciating hours. And the worst part is Netflix needs to have a button on it that you can take back your watch, where you can click it. Like, not every one of them. Maybe they give you 5. Maybe they give you 5 and you watch a movie and you go, look, I don't want the people who made this movie to get credit for me watching it because I hated the fucking movie. So I want to hit a button that, doop, it's an undo watch button. Undo, boop, and then it undoes it, and the counter goes down. Because, Netflix likes to piggyback movies onto each other so that if you leave it running, the next movie starts. And even if you don't watch that movie, they get a click. They get a click. That's how they got the ridiculous 6 so high up in the ratings a couple years back, by connecting it train-like to other movies. DiCaprio's made some great movies. He's a good actor. But this is a smug, irritating, dark, depressing, cynical piece of celluloid trash. And I know it wasn't made on celluloid, but everybody involved should be embarrassed. It should be a movie that you just don't mention anymore. It's one of those. And there's a bunch of them. I've always said I'm going to do an episode one time that's just gigantic movies that nobody remembers. Bonfire of the Vanities. No one remembers that movie. And it was a huge budget. Huge movie. Mars Needs Moms. No one remembers that movie. There are these huge, giant movies that just land. Boom! Look at this movie! And 2 years later, people will go, I think I remember that. I think so. I mean, do you know there was a 5th Pirates of the Caribbean movie? Most people don't. Now there's going to be 6, but without Johnny Depp, which is stupid. Thanks for enduring this episode of 2 movies I didn't care for. I I don't know if I'm going to do one on Spider-Man. It seems like everybody's done one on Spider-Man. But what I could do is say, I enjoyed the movie. I love seeing the other Spider-Man actors in it. I thought that was interesting. But the question I have is, first off, there's a magical serum that'll cure evil, and they have it for each one of them, which, okay, I'll buy. If I can buy the guy swinging through the air as a spider, I can buy the magical, I'm a good guy now, serum. I have no problem with that. The problem I have is, at the end of the movie, the villains should have each one, in their own way, sacrificed themselves to save the universe. That's what they should have done. They should have all died to save the universe, or somebody, or maybe there's a boat of people, or a train full of people, or there's tourists somewhere, and they have to sacrifice themselves to save these people, and they all die. You know, that would have been great. And instead, they're all sent back to their own universes as good guys, or better people. And the question I have is, well, what happens once they get back there? Because these people have, in some cases, like the Green Goblin, murdered people. Like, people are dead. They have to atone and pay for these crimes. They're not absolved because they decided to be a good guy and help Peter Parker in another universe. Explain that to the judge. Look, you can't put me in jail for murdering this guy because in another universe, I helped a different guy named Peter Parker, not our Peter Parker, but another guy named Peter Parker, save these people or this thing or what? What? And I know I'm overthinking it. Jeff, you have to turn your brain off. But that's kind of the plot of the movies, is redemption. And if these characters are going to get redemption, then we have to acknowledge what they're being redeemed for. I enjoyed the movie. Let's leave it at that. My kid really enjoyed it, and that was nice. We didn't see it together. We saw it separately and then talked about it. But it was nice to be able to connect like that, because there's not a lot of connections these days with our world so fractured. But one thing we can all agree on is that Don't Look Up was a finger-wagging, scold, piece of shit movie that should be put in a box with Kangaroo Jack and Theodore Rex and tossed into the ocean, weighted down so that we never see it again. I'm Jeff Tucker, and this used to be, and still is, and may continue to be, 91 Reasons.
Thanks for listening to 91 Reasons. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. Is anyone even still listening?